Welcome to another episode on the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. Today I'm talking to accredited exercise physiologist and business owner Nicole French. Nicole French is so incredibly impressive and inspiring in her journey, and we do not leave anything out in today's podcast. I am flying solo today. Emily is in a managed team leadership day, so she has let me fly the flag today, but I had a inspiring conversation with Nicole that I cannot wait for you to listen to. Nicole French is a multi-award winning accredited exercise physiologist and an influential leader in allied healthcare. As the founder of Exercise for Rehabilitation and Health and Essendon Physio Group, Nicole has dedicated her career to delivering innovative, person-centered care with a particular interest in exercise for diabetes and chronic disease management. Her current work focuses on developing evidence-based protocols for diabetes remission, combining her expertise with that of general practitioners and fellow health professionals to pioneer collaborative, person-centered care models. Nicole's contributions to the field have earned her and her practices numerous accolades. These include the 2023 Australian Women's Small Business Champion Award, 2023 ESSA Practice of the Year, and 2024 Australian Exercise Physiologist of the Year Award. Additionally, in 2023, she was recognised by the Herald Sun as one of the top 12 female small business owners in Victoria. In 2024, Nicole was recognised in the Victorian Parliament for her outstanding contribution to healthcare and medical research. With her dynamic vision for the future of allied health and passion for advancing healthcare practices, Nicole remains dedicated to innovation, collaboration, and improving the quality of life for all Australians. This conversation is so inspiring. She talks about the challenges that she's encountered over the past 19 years, her journey to managing herself out of the business, and how fun, play, and creativity really help her balance her energy so that she can advocate and step into any room as an exercise physiologist. We are child development obsessed, business besties, and mums, and we're here to spill all our secrets.
We have a combined 30 years experience working with children, and each episode we will bring you up-to-date research and evidence-based strategies to set your children up to thrive.
I'm Lizzie Dawson, Australian exercise physiologist.
I'm Emily Mackey, Australian speech pathologist,
and this is the Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. I am so excited to have you here today, Nicole. You have been such an inspiration to myself and my journey as an exercise physiologist. You are an award-winning exercise physiologist and business owner, and I'm so excited to unpack this conversation and all the learnings that you have had over the last, how many years have you been operating in business?
This will be our 19th year.
Oh, so impressive. So impressive. So welcome to Move, Talk, Thrive podcast. I'm very excited to have you here today to have a nice chat with me.
Awesome. Thank you. And just thank you for having me on board. Gosh, with that intro, I hope I don't disappoint. But just
not possible.
Really pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, not possible. Nicole, you and I met, I don't even know how many years. It must have been 10 years ago. Emily and I have been pretty good friends for about 10 years in our business training. And I always knew you were going to be a mover and shaker. You are very well spoken. You've always been very inspiring. You are grounded, and you've just got this really humble but confident presence about you. So it has not been surprising to me to see your journey and see you winning all these amazing awards and your team winning awards. And you're like presenting at conferences and all the things. Congratulations on your epic career that is unfolding. And it definitely hasn't taken me by surprise. I know because you've always kind of had that in you, I think. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. That's really nice. It's certainly been, I think, a wonderful journey. And I think an inspiring journey as
Mm.
well. The amount of times you fall down and you just have to get back up again and find different ways. But I think when you're really clear on your mission and your vision and your values, decisions get easier over time.
Yeah.
And I think you start reaching for things that you somewhat thought were maybe unobtainable, and it becomes just fun, just
Yeah.
trying to reach for them.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh, there's so many questions I have to ask off the back of that. But firstly, let's talk a little bit about who you are and what you do in your own words. I've shared your bio in our intro, but let's hear from you and yeah, what you're all about.
Awesome. Well, clinically, so my background training is in exercise physiology. So I'm an accredited exercise physiologist and have been for well over 20 years now. I started out my career, my journey in hospitals and community health centres. So I worked there for a couple of years and felt really inspired to start doing my own thing and creating something that I could be really proud of and grow myself and grow my team. So over the last 19 years or so, I've built, I would call it incredible, two practices under one roof. And I call them incredible because they're impactful. We
Mm.
have a great team, we have a great culture and great training systems, and we continue to grow and to thrive and continue to be really impactful in that space. So I first started exercise for rehabilitation and health back in 2006, which was as a sole trader. And it was a purely exercise physiology business. And about 4 years into that journey, really saw a gap or an opportunity really to introduce physio. And so I started working really closely with a physio locally and started this really great collab where we could see patients really thriving and outcomes just getting better and better. And I thought, oh, well, if this is going to work, let's make this stuff official. And I started a physio practice as well. And we had the EP practice and the physio practice under one roof, which is still all there today and, doing really, really well. And into that journey, discovered lots of niche areas that we could start deep diving in. So on the back of that, also started a third practice, the Melbourne Vestibular Clinic. So we have a physio sort of generalist clinic and an EP generalist clinic, and then we have specialist vestibular and dizziness services through Melbourne Vestibular Clinic. So they run under one roof as a beautiful collaborative opportunity. But I suppose, look, apart from the clinical side of things and developing the business, there's been a lot of advocacy work that I've been delving into. I've been on different boards. So I'm a board member of the Primary Care Diabetes Society of Australia and CFO of that. I'm an ambassador for the Girls Uniform Agenda, where we successfully advocated for legislative change about 4 years ago now to give every single Australian schoolgirl an opportunity to wear pants and shorts in addition to a dress at school. So that was really great. I've served on Parents' Voice as well. I do a lot of work with Diabetes Victoria and am now dabbling in research as well, having been awarded the 2024 RACGP NIB Foundation grant to look at setting up Australia's first allied health-led diabetes remission program in primary care.
Oh my goodness, that is massive, isn't it? There's so much in that. I mean, it's just so impressive. I guess, have you got your businesses to or your clinics to a point where they're rolling, which has enabled you to do all this advocacy work? Yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Operationally, they came a point, it was probably about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
where I thought the time is now and
Yeah.
did a complete restructure. So,
Yeah.
that was our version 2.0, which was great.
Yeah.
We looked at managing a lot of people up and managed me out of
Mhm.
everyday operations. So I could really work in that zone that I wanted to. Because as you know, when you're in the operations every day in the clinic, as much as it's wonderful because you get to be around the team. It sort of gets to a point though when you're thinking, if I want to achieve greater impact, I need a little bit more space. I need
Mm.
more flexibility and adaptability in my week to really have thinking time and to get strategic and have cloud weeks and dirt weeks where you can move into those different spaces freely to focus on the things that you want. And I suppose the reality is when you've got a great team, it's a great opportunity to manage up and manage yourself out.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And so, how many have you got in your teams?
We're close to 20 now.
Yeah, awesome.
So we've got a great practitioner team and we've got a lot of great support on site and building out our virtual team. So I think all up now we've got about 20. I think there's 20 of us.
Yeah, amazing. And what a good opportunity for your team. Like when you talk about managing team up and managing yourself out, I think there can be some huge blocks around that for business owners around, feeling guilty that you need to be across everything and you need to be really involved. Did you feel that?
I suppose I did, and I still do, and that's why I'm very particular with what my role is. So as a CEO of the organization now, it's still my duty to be across everything. I just don't look at that day-to-day management of those things. So I have my direct reports. I have people that come and report directly to me. I have key metrics in there. I have a strategic plan. I've got my marketing team. So my head of teams, I work very, very closely with. So I still know exactly what's going on in the
Yeah.
business, but I'm just not so involved in those everyday operations, which supports that ability for me to empower others to make those everyday decisions. And I think when you've got a very clear strategic plan and everybody's on the same page with that, you can actually empower people within your management team to make decisions, which is great. And then you just look to support them in making the decisions. It's a good place to be.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's like I said before, it's nice for them because they've got that progression. They've got that pathway. You're creating a pathway for them, which I think is a really nice way to kind of flip it for if you are feeling that guilt as a business owner, that you're presenting opportunities and career pathways for other people to make those decisions. Like how empowering is that? I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think, look, if you've got a clear filter, we put through all of our decisions through a filter of mission, vision, values. If it ticks the boxes,
Mm.
it's likely going to work out. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because the reality is not all my decisions always worked out anyway. So
Yeah, that's
people are
right.
they're going to make mistakes. And, as long as we're working with the same filter, whether I would have made it or they made it, the likelihood is we actually would have made the same decision. So it's great to be able to support people to make those everyday decisions and support them with their professional growth as well.
Absolutely. And I think, having that perspective that we're not going to nail it all the time is so important, and giving them the permission to make decisions without this kind of perfectionism sort of mindset that it's like, well, if I don't get this right, it is all going to fall apart. Because the reality of it, and I feel like I've been on this journey myself, like you can be in a certain point in life, in business, and you can catastrophize and go, oh, if I make the wrong decision, I'm going to end up on the street. But there's so many steps between the two extremes. And I think just normalizing that we're not going to get it right all the time, that we're learning and evolving, I think is such a good mindset to have. And particularly for those up and coming leaders that are potentially new to that leadership position as well.
Most definitely. I think it makes life a little bit easier, quite honestly, when you're a little more established as well, because it's sort of like a bit of a softer fall when things don't quite go to plan. And so there's always that idea of, you think about how early do I need to do this? And I had a couple of attempts early on of having a go, and, I didn't nail it. And I kept inviting myself back into everyday operations. Within my head, I was helping, but really I was just a chronic fixer of things. And, I think over time, as we work together more often, but as the foundations of the business itself gets stronger and you build those systems in, people are part of it, but systems are also a huge part of it. If you don't have the systems to support your people, it will fall down, and
Yeah.
you will have to go back in and you will have to rescue things.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a work in progress, but I do think it kind of softens the blow a little bit and gives you a little bit more confidence when you are a little bit more established as well.
Yeah, because you've got the foundations there, don't you? You've got
Yeah.
what's working, and that's working and rolling so that you can try new things, but it's almost like they're little passion projects. I mean, you've got the foundations there.
Yeah.
And what I'm hearing is just the resilience. And I think this is something that I think about a lot because I like, to me, I just keep trying. And a lot of the time things don't work, but I just go, all right, I'm just going to pivot and try it a different way. And because I know what I'm trying to achieve, like that big picture, vision and mission. And I think that's the guiding light. And you might try it in one way and go, nope, okay, that's not working. And then you'll reset and try it another way. And that's that resilience, isn't it?
100%. And you always take away something really useful from that process. So you go, I tried 3 things in this scenario. 2 of them did not work, but man, one, we nailed that one. So we're going to lift that one and we're going to reinvent the other ways of doing it. And along the way, our eyes have opened up to these other opportunities. So why don't we also move it to the right a bit or to the left a little bit? You keep growing and evolving through that process. So I think if you need to be open to that. And if you're a chronic perfectionist, you're going to really struggle with it. But being open to that journey and being able to reflect on what went right, not just what went wrong, and lift those things and recreate again and know that that's okay. But I think for me, it's become more fun over time doing it as well. There are things that I do now that I want to do that I think, are you insane trying to do these things? I still don't feel like I belong in a lot of the groups and a lot of the places that I go to and, work within at times, but it's kind of fun playing with it and pushing boundaries and just seeing how much better you actually can be at things. And sometimes you have this realization where you're like, maybe I actually do belong here. Maybe this is
Yeah.
something I should be doing as well. And then, with those realizations, I think it supports stronger leadership within your clinic too, because people see you pushing yourself outside of your comfort zones, and it's that basic role modeling again. And they're like, well, if she's doing it, I'm kind of inspired to do a little bit of that as well. And if she's going to be humble enough to say, yeah, I stuffed up, I fell down, I forgot my words, or whatever that may be when I'm out presenting, that's okay because she's tried it and it didn't quite go to plan. So maybe it's not the end of the world if I have a crack at something too.
Absolutely, and that's leadership, isn't it? Like
Mm,
you are leading, you are showing them that you are going to do it despite it not being perfect, despite feeling uncomfortable in some rooms. And that's stretching ourselves. Like we need to do it despite the discomfort. And you are, like you say, role modeling. And if you can't expect other people to be doing it if you're not leading and doing it. So I think that's
definitely.
amazing. So do you really share that journey with your team about how you're feeling through all the process?
100%.
Mm.
100%. There was a few weeks ago we decided to, well, we were feeling a bit creative. We got some technology in and we were having a bit of a play with it. And I'm like, hey, wouldn't it be good if we could combine some of what we're doing now in this program with some of this technology. And so I was working with one of the senior physios on it, and I'm like, this is amazing. What do we do with this now? And so I got a little creative and I started looking at, what grants are available, what funding opportunities might be available for us to start playing with this concept. And I started to review the local budget, or the budget for our local council, because feedback was being asked. And I had a look through and I'm like, there's a few gaps in here for health. So I'm like, I'm going to have a go at putting a submission in. So I created an entire submission and went and did an oral presentation at council chambers a couple of weeks ago. Look, we're still waiting on the outcome, but it was such a wonderful opportunity to actually lean in and play with the team and share that. And when we got the opportunity to do the oral presentation, I'm just like, oh God, now I have to talk in front of people. Okay, we can do this. And we all had a laugh about it. Oh, Nicole's up, doing, creating again, but now she's going to have to put her money where her mouth is and she's going to have to stand up and talk about it. Okay, I can do that. And so we all had a good laugh about it. And we played with a bit of AI and different things to try and get my 3-minute pitch exactly where it needed to be. And I practiced with them and we had a good laugh. And then it was streamed on YouTube. And all of that sort of stuff. And we've had banter since.
So good.
We share it all. And I love that with them because they see my challenges or my insecurities and, they embrace that and they love it. And they see me as a person as well, just like how I see them as people. Yeah. So we have a play, we lean in, and I certainly do share. I'm very open.
Yeah, amazing. I think that's so good. And what I'm loving is just that, playfulness, the creativity, the resilience and the fun, because I think that's so important and such a massive part of preventing burnout when we're, stretching ourselves at, to these new levels that are so uncomfortable. If you can add that element of fun, that's so healthy for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, within our practice, it's just a part of our culture. I think it's mutual respect. I really do. I think we just respect each other as people. And so we can laugh at ourselves and laugh at others. And then we don't feel so guarded at trying new things as well.
Yeah, because you feel safe, right? Like that security. And when you feel, and like this is what I talk about with pediatrics, when we're creating an environment that's safe, that is when we can learn. That is when we can try things that we're uncomfortable trying or things that we don't know how to do. And this is the same for kids as it is for adults, and that safety in your team is obviously part of that foundation, which is allowing you to stretch. Has it always been that way, or is that something that you've really had to consciously create?
I think over time I've become more comfortable with being myself a little bit with the team. I think that's actually been the shift for us. I always sort of felt like I had to be like two versions of myself. I'm naturally fun and I like to try new things. And, I always sort of felt like in the world of business, you couldn't be like that. And we had to, present a certain way and, be more of a manager mindset. And then I used to get into this challenge, am I a manager? Am I a leader? What should I be? And I think there was a distinct point where I went, well, this is who I am. And I'm sick of it takes so much work to try and be what you think you should be in leadership. It's really draining on your energy. And I think there was a point in time where I just went, well, they can accept me for my playfulness and my silliness and my bigger picture thinking. Because I used to guard that a little bit. There was a time in the practice where I started sharing that and, it didn't go as well as what I anticipated it would. There were different people that left at different times going, she's all talk and she's no action and she'll never do it and all of this. And I started to get quite guarded about those things. And yeah, there was a distinct point, I'd say probably about 3 years ago, where I went, no, I'm not letting that happen anymore. I am bigger picture thinking. I want to have fun with what I do, and people can either sort of take it or leave it in there.
Mm.
And if there needs to be that manager feel, maybe that manager feel doesn't come from me. It actually comes from a manager. Organizational structure. So it's, constantly evolving in this space. But I think once you become very settled with the way you want to be, if you're not that particular person that you think your team needs all the time for stability and all that sort of stuff, create a position and have somebody else step into that role to create that stability and that there every day. And you be what you want to be the innovator, be whatever you want to be in there. And it's perfectly okay. And you deserve to do it and feel really good about doing it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think like the energy management side of that is huge because when you are doing all this advocacy and you are putting yourself in rooms with people where you have to overcome your imposter and all of that takes big energy, like big energy. And so if you're spending your energy pretending to be a certain person to fill that role that maybe is not aligned with who you want to be and how you want to show up, then you're stealing that energy that you need to go and do those big things. So I think that's such an important lesson. How far into your journey? So 3 years ago, you've been operating for 19 years. So like that's taken you 16 years to get to
Yeah.
that point. But I think that's really such an important, you know, place to land in all of this because I think we should have it all figured out really early on. But
Mm.
it's a journey, isn't it? Like it's such a
Yeah.
big journey.
Absolutely. It's a journey. And, that journey is not going to stop. I'm looking forward going, wow, what are things like going to be like in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time? And I often backtrack and I go, oh, what could have happened if I had reached these conclusions earlier? Like, where could things have been? And then I sort of counsel myself out of that and go, well, no, it would never have happened like that because you needed the life experience. You needed the things to go really wrong. You needed then the things to go really right for you to be able to learn from that, capture it, reflect on it, and continuously move forward. These things can't happen in, your first, I would think your first decade almost of
Mm.
running an organization, because you also need to learn off other people around you as well.
Yeah.
You learn how the world works. You learn about when people say one thing and do something else, how to interpret that. Your emotional intelligence goes up. It is an ever evolving experience, which, you use that word grit in there, which you can
Mm.
develop those things and get stronger. And I think you can make decisions more quickly, but it takes time.
It does. And it takes because it takes experience, doesn't it? Like you
It
actually
does.
really have to go through the process and you have to go through the risk and the challenges to almost hit rock bottom to
Yep.
unpack how your response in the whole situation to identify how and where you need to go to progress out of it. So I just think that it's the journey and you have to have all the challenges and that's what really helps you to get to that place where, like you're talking about, you can have fun and you're so grounded in your role in how you want to show up and what
Mm.
you want to do. Have you got like a 5 year plan, a 10 year plan? How kind of far in the future are you looking?
It's a good question. I always find that I trip myself up when I try and get too detailed in where I
Mm,
want things to be. I get bogged down in detail very quickly. And then I want the plan to be perfect. And then I could spend 6 months on a plan and then I go, oh, things have changed. So I think for me, building the pathway, there's a pathway to some great stuff that I really just want to pursue and give of myself into and see where it lands. There is great community impact stuff. There's great advocacy stuff. I'm starting to get a little bit of excitement around political aspirations. I don't know where that will go. I think I'm just going to see where it all lands, but just keep the energy high and keep driving the team along the way. And my focus is on inspiring my team to make really great decisions and continuously just being innovative in my thinking. Our mission, our vision, our values are all there. The exact pathway to get there, we'll see what that looks like and how that continues to evolve.
I love the flexibility in that. So you've obviously taken the time to identify your purpose, your mission. You've communicated that, you've got that rock solid with your team. And
Mm.
so you've got the pathways, but what happens on that pathway is flexible,
Mm.
and I think that's such an important uh, perspective to have in that big picture thinking, because I think we can get discouraged when it's too detailed. I think we can, like you say, get really caught up in the planning, and I love planning. I feel like it's my anxiety go-to. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I'm going to sit here and do a plan. But I think we can get really bogged down in those details. I'm very similar to you. I'm not so much a details person. I love the big picture, and I just really love your flexibility around that, because I think that is really, really important to be able to reflect and learn and adjust
Yeah.
as you go, which is really important, right?
Most definitely. And I think, I don't like to talk about COVID much anymore, but I think that almost forced our hand during
Mhm.
COVID as well, where we needed to have that quick adaptive thinking and the mindset. I mean, we changed our business model during COVID because I wanted to keep trading. I mean, it was very simple. I didn't want to close down, so we didn't. But we needed to adapt what we were doing to ensure that we were meeting governmental guidelines and keeping people out of hospital and all of that sort of stuff, and that created a whole new service. And I think that taught me that no matter how the world changes, if we remain open but committed to where we want to go and to how we want to serve, we can stay open to where that pathway is going to take us and be happy in the process as well, not put a whole lot of pressure on ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important. I was at a CFO course the other week, and she was talking about risk factors, because a part of being a CFO is identifying risks, and some of them are going to be internal risks, and that could come from team to rental changes, lease changes. And then there's external, which is like government changes, funding changes, COVID, all of these things, which we're experiencing right now with NDIS, like this
Yeah.
NDIS changes. It's something that, while we can advocate and we can all jump on board with that, it is, to a large degree, it's out of our hands. So we
Yes.
need to identify those risks. And like you say, we need to be resilient, we need to be creative, and be connected to that big picture, and just figure out the way to do it. But we're never going to be without those risks, because that's part of business, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is a risk tomorrow may not have been a risk today. And things change and things move. But being aware of risk mitigation and the controllables and the uncontrollables in that, and just looking at mitigation. And that's one of the reasons why, when we look at our business structure as well, we have diversity in the clients that we see, the disciplines that we have, the funding structures. We are a heavily private clientele, and then we have some compensable clients. And I was really focused on setting up a business like that because I never wanted government to come and knock on my door and say, your revenue's this today, but I'm changing it to this tomorrow. I didn't want that heavy hand coming in and having that level of control, because when our control is taken away, it's a horrible thing, and it's a domino effect throughout the business. And I think it allows a business owner to stay really calm and really focused if we have that level of diversity in there as well. So the NDIS stuff is somewhat going to impact us, but not significantly. But I still passionately advocate for it because I care for those clients that are going to look at missing out, those people with complex needs, those people that live in regional, rural and remote communities, and those incredible practitioners that have spent years and years and years developing expertise in complex disabilities and giving so much of themselves. I will advocate for them. Yeah. It's challenging times for them.
Absolutely. It's just been been so interesting to kind of, I actually have had the flu. So it all came out and I was like, I can't actually post anything. I can't do anything. So I just sat back and just looked at, like, watched everyone's responses and all everyone posting. And now it's kind of got to the point where everyone's coming together, which I think is so amazing. Like, it's just been such an amazing process to watch unfold. And while it is very, very concerning and disappointing and all of the above, and worrying, I think, if we can look at how the governing bodies are now coming together and working together to advocate, like, that is something that's probably needed to happen, and maybe this needed to happen for that to evolve. And it'll be interesting to see if that has an impact. I don't know whether it will, but like you say, I think the underlying message needs to be, how like risked up are you? Like, if you're running a business that is depending on one funding stream, you are not going to be sleeping at night right now if that's NDIS. Yeah. So I think you can mitigate those risks by having some diversity in terms of what you're offering. So with COVID, how did you change your model?
So what we look to do is to lean into anything that kept people out of hospitals and skill up really, really quickly in it. So we had already developed a vestibular service at that time, so dizziness in particular, and we could assess somebody, we could diagnose somebody. So my physios are vestibular physios, and then we had the rehab component. So we hand over to the EPs, and we worked collectively within this beautiful little nurturing environment, this beautiful workflow. And then when COVID hit and all of those restrictions came in, things like usual care for physio and usual care for EP were no longer permitted. So we went, okay, how does this definition affect us? And what can we do about it? So I was absolutely dead set that I was not closing my doors, because I wanted to ensure that I kept jobs for my team to come back to. And I was dead set that I wanted to continue to care for the community when every other way, everything else was closing and turning their backs on them. So they were my two key drivers at the time. So I remember quite vividly getting on the phone with my lawyer and saying, okay, this is what we do in practice and these are the rules. This is what I think I can do. Can you help me interpret these things? Am I taking this literally? Is there any flexibility? And we had a really good talk about that. And we came to the conclusion that those rules were in place to keep people safe. And as long as I was creating a service that could service that community but keep people safe, we would be fine. So I looked to develop an online training series in-house for vestibular rehab to take it up a notch And then I pushed out so much marketing to local GPs and emergency departments about having them triage all of their dizziness cases to our clinic to keep them out of doctor's surgeries and to keep them out of ED departments, to free those services up, those primary care services, for people that really genuinely needed them in an emergency. So we created training systems. I hired in that time. So I created online inductions and onboarding and training. We hired in that time, and then we developed a protocol. And since then, we've actually done research, in-house research on it to actually look at its effectiveness as well. So we pushed the vestibular and the dizziness and the falls and balance side of things. And some of those things we could still do online, but majority we still needed to see face-to-face. So we needed to look at all the infection control side of things. We were very fortunate that we're in a commercial building and we have separate suites in that commercial building. So I could, with the 3-meter rule and all of that sort of stuff, have one practitioner on at any one time per suite. And we could do the head count and we could keep everyone safe. And we had N95s on everyone. We worked so hard, and it ended up being our lifeline, which was incredible. And we've since scaled the service, and it's an independent service and an independent business now, which is quite amazing. But I was dead set that I wasn't closing my doors, and the health department tried to close us twice, which was interesting.
Oh, wow.
They had people standing outside of our doors. They went to the nth degree to try and close us because we were technically classified as allied health, and they could not understand why an allied health practice was still trading. So they assumed we were doing something wrong, but in fact, we were doing everything right. And we were supporting local hospitals, to the fact that local hospitals, when they had people present, they would say, we don't need to see you, go to these people. And they would send them to us. Wow. So it was incredibly trying times, but we got through it. And it was, one of the biggest tests that we've ever had to go through. And on the back end of that, I had escaped COVID for so many years, but as all of that was happening, then I developed COVID, and I was one of these people that had all the serious complications and all of that. And then I was in hospital for a month. I was an inpatient for a month. And that was one of the turning points for me, where during all of this drama, my team just took the lead because I was out of the game. And that was my turning point, where I went, this can change. We can do this. And then that was the catalyst for looking at organizational structure and managing me out and all of that stuff. It was the evidence that the organization could actually function without me. And I started to ask myself, has it always been my choice just to stay in there? I mean, I adore it. I adore it. I don't want to be away from it, but I needed to find my right home with my right skill set, moving in the right direction for my new role.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What an incredible journey, and just such a testament to how challenges can really be blessings, in that they teach you and provide you with that resilience that can really then be the guiding light. I just think that every time I'm going through a hard, bout, I'm like, right, what am I learning right now? What are the silver linings here? Because when I reflect on my 15 years in business, it is the challenges that are the highlights, because I come out the other side of them, and really big challenges that have floored me. But they're the best things that have happened, in hindsight. What are some other challenges? Like, that's obviously a fairly significant one. What are some other challenges that you've had? 19 years in business, I'm sure there's been some doozies in there that have shaped you. What are some of those big ones that have helped you, guide you?
I think a couple of them. I think back on the time when I was pregnant, and we were much, much smaller as an organization at that time. And I was kind of forced to start recruiting people into the business because I couldn't keep treating. And so that was a great eye-opening opportunity when there aren't really any other choices. I had to bow out for a particular point in time, and I had to recruit. I found recruiting for my own position, in a sense, really, really hard because I loved my patients and I loved the way I did things. And I just didn't ever think that someone else could do it like me. I loved my conversations with my patients. I genuinely looked forward to seeing them, and that very idea that someone else would be doing that and not me. How would I deal with that? How would they deal with it? And that to me seemed like such an enormous challenge at the time. I look back on that now and I go, what an opportunity. I did quite honestly see it as an opportunity pretty quickly, into the piece. And I think that's mainly because I managed to find the right person for the role. I think if I had not have found the right person for that role, I think that would have been a greater challenge for me. But I thank my lucky stars that that right person came along, and he's still with me today as well.
Oh, wow.
Which is
That's awesome.
incredible. Well over 10 years now, which is just wonderful. I think that was probably one of the biggest ones. I suppose there was another one when I first started out, and I had lots of satellite clinics set up as well. So I wasn't really focusing on, or did I have the belief that I could ever have like a full-time one location practice. So I had, 10 locations on the go and running around Melbourne. Now, our practice is in Essendon, and I vividly remember driving to Frankston on the hope that people were booked into my diary. And there were times where I drove across there and they went, oh, actually, there's no one booked in today.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
what can I do while I'm here? And you have the rent at all of those locations, you have the travel, and there's so much, right? That's so uncontrollable. And it was quite, a pivotal moment where I made a decision where I shut all the satellite clinics and I opened my one place. And that was make or break, but I just genuinely felt that it wasn't going anywhere. And if I just kept doing it, it was just too uncontrollable and I would be exhausted. And the challenge of starting that one location and consolidating and bringing everything across and starting branding and marketing and all of that sort of stuff, that was quite a challenge. And that took a little while to get up and going. But then once it did, man, it did. It was one of the best decisions I ever made. I think, the trying to replace myself almost in a maternity leave position, and then consolidating all those satellite clinics to one location and having the belief behind myself that I could do it. They were quite challenging. We've had a few over time. I've had a couple of my suites, the owners of them, looking to sell them and say, look, sorry, we're selling the suites. Leases are this, and this. You'll be out on the street within a month. And I'd be like, okay, all right, how am I going to buy this thing?
Yeah.
That's happened to me twice.
Have you bought them?
Yep.
Oh, amazing.
We found ways because I hated the uncertainty behind it. But again, what a stretch.
Yeah.
That's a huge stretch to commit to that. And then again, you're looking at all the rolling break evens, you're looking at your projections and you're going, oh my God, what do I need to change to make this work? But I can't face that level of uncertainty that at any point in time, someone can just say, hey, here's a 20% rental increase. Plus you've got all the outgoings, plus you've got all these things. I sort of figured, well, I'm paying them all anyway. Let's see if I can try and move it into a mortgage arrangement. So we've certainly had some trying times where we've had to move very, very quickly. But I think the uncertainty of not having those locations were probably some of the most hard. They were the hardest ones.
Yeah.
Having to move things around to make that work very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's massive, isn't it? And so disruptive, I think, to, that foundation that you're trying to nurture and grow so that you can then, get to that point to where you are today. And what would you attribute to getting through those challenges, from mindset to people to what do you really think that has been instrumental in getting through those challenges and getting out the other side stronger?
I think for me, my I'm relentless. I will always find a way to do things, but I need balance with that because that can sometimes lead to reckless decisions when you're super passionate and you just want to go. You'll see the way and you'll just go. So I
Yeah.
think for me, my rescue in there is to have my yin and my yang. So my business partner to actually come in and go, okay, I can see what you're trying to do here. He's that cautious personality where he says, great, I celebrate you for what you want to do. Let's look at the risk involved. And he's very pragmatic. He's that matter of fact. He's that numbers. He will say, have you looked at it another way? Or ask those key questions.
Mm,
Why is this so important? By making this decision, what do you foresee as the outcome of that? And why is that so important? So
mm,
I think
mm.
having that balance, whether it be your business partner or your spouse or your partner, whoever that is, I think having that balance in there, particularly if you're super passionate and enthusiastic and a yes person. I'm getting better at no, but I'm still a highly yes
Yeah.
person. To have that balance, I think for me has worked really well. For some people, that's their business coach as
Yeah.
well. I have an amazing business coach that is highly cautious and will
Mm,
ask the right questions as well. And I need that coming in two ways. I need my business partner and my business coach basically saying, no, the answer's no, sell me yes. And
yeah.
then it makes me backtrack and ask myself those questions. And then if we all agree, yes, man, I know it's going to work. If we're all
Yeah.
agreeing, yes, that's go nuts.
Yeah. I love that. So it's really about, finding the people that are your soundboards that
Mm,
match your decision making and your style, I guess. Yeah.
most definitely. And not making you feel bad about decisions, but asking those right questions. And I love, particularly for me, the idea of people saying no. They
Yeah.
will always say no. And then I will have to sell the yes. And it's
Yeah.
through selling that yes that I'll do the self reflection. And usually by the end of the activity, I go, actually, you know what? No, don't worry about it. That's fine. I won't do it anyway. But then when I can sell it and I believe in it, and then they believe in it, we're like, yes, this is great.
Then you
This is
know
going to
it's a
be magic.
winner.
Mm,
Yeah. And that's kind of like aligned to that advocacy piece, isn't it? Really? Because
yeah.
it's that same sort of process of advocating and, selling your idea in a sense.
Absolutely. It's great training. If I go and I have a concept that I want to talk about somewhere, or if I have something that's really important to me, like junk food advertising for children, I'm often on the news talking about that. All of that training that I get every day in the practice of making decisions, when a reporter asks me a question, it doesn't matter what they ask me. I
Mm,
already have all of those questions that have gone through my head, and I feel very confident in delivering a response. So anything around all those advocacy spaces. I was in Parliament House last week, um,
yes.
talking about the power, particularly of allied health and primary care in chronic disease prevention. And being armed with numbers and facts and figures and being able to argue them passionately with purpose and with evidence. All of my business training has led me to a place where I can stand up in front of people and argue passionately or debate passionately, because I know that if I go in with the mindset that they're going to say no, just like my circle do, I need to convince them yes, but I need to have all of my tools all
Yeah.
lined up and everything ready to go. It's great. Everything you get from business is life and advocacy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. It's just life skills on steroids, isn't it? In
Big
business.
time.
Yeah,
Big
love it.
time.
And how do you, what would be your advice to people that, are inspired by you, that want to kind of follow in your footsteps, whether they're early career or, got their own business and they're going, wait a sec, that sounds awesome. I want to go to Parliament. I want to advocate. I want to put myself in these rooms, which right now just scare the crap out of me. What's your advice to those people?
I would say hold on to all of that passion. And I would say have it well placed, understanding that there are steps along the way to take you there. So going out to advocate for something takes years of building credibility, takes years of building a brand in that place, and having that life experience and clinical experience to be able to argue a point quite vigorously as well. So I would say if you are passionate, that's amazing. You're going to have impact at some point in your career and in your life. You are going to have the impact that you want. Placing that energy with strategy and understanding that it will take time and there's a journey involved is something to just absolutely keep in mind along the way. I never set out on my journey, I suppose, wanting to get out there and talk about different things. I found my voice along the way through my passion for distinct areas along the way. But maybe if you're starting your career, if you're partway through your career and that's something that you really want to do, hold on to it. Understand that there are steps along the way. I certainly volunteered my time for many, many years within key stakeholder organizations. I went and developed and delivered seminars. I wrote articles, whatever they needed me to do, I did, not because I expected something in the end. It's because I believed in the purpose of the organization. And over time, it's been the alignment of purpose and the delivery, like the deliverables above expectation, that have sort of now presented these opportunities. So it's about building things over time. And I suppose as well, get around circles of people that are already doing it, because success leaves clues. So if you're seeing it, if you're hearing it, you feel their vibe, you feel their energy, you can learn off watching people and being around people. So if you're surrounding yourselves with people that are doing more than you are and in that area that you aspire towards, get around them as much as you can and learn from them.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think you are just so inspiring, and I think it's so easy to watch you and go, I want it, and listen to you and go, I want to do that. And I think that advice is so solid in just being so attached to the purpose and just taking steps every day and serving, right? And serving
Yeah.
and providing more than what you're being asked to do, and just keep going. And it takes time. You are not early career. You are, like we said, 16 years in your business before you were managing yourself out, and now, doing all these amazing things. So thank you so much for sharing your pearls of wisdom and your challenges and your vulnerability and everything this morning. It's been so lovely to catch up with you again and hear about your journey. And thank you so much for sharing so generously with our listeners. And I can't wait to watch your journey further and see what else is in store for you in the coming years.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you again for having me on board. It's been wonderful to talk about this, and I hope that it serves a purpose for people that are listening. If they can take a couple things away from it, I by no means have all the answers, but I'm always very happy to share my journey. And if people can take parts of that and they find that insightful and they can do something really cool with it, I'm a big fan.
Amazing. Where can people find you to keep following your journey and see what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd say the best couple of places would be LinkedIn. So looking at professional profile on LinkedIn, you can just look me up on LinkedIn, or Instagram, Nicole_French, I think it is, _EP, something along those lines. But Instagram, I tend to post some cool stuff about things when I'm out and about, and LinkedIn, I'm quite active on there.
Amazing. I will pop those links in our show notes as well. And make sure that you share this episode far and wide with our exercise physiology community. I really want to inspire EPs out there and just show them the different things that we can be doing as we progress in our career. So thank you so much again for joining me today.
Thanks so much, Liz. It's been a pleasure.